Well, half a world away from Cuba, the city of Mosul, north of Baghdad, was once one of Iraq's most culturally rich and religiously diverse cities. Now it is the territory of Islamic State militants after they took control of the city last June, and they haven't stopped there.
The group has been destroying ancient sites and artifacts in the name of religion. The Mosul Museum has been one such target, as VOA's Kane Farabaugh tells On Assignment's Philip Alexiou, and the destruction has archaeologists around the world very concerned.
It took only minutes for members of Islamic State to permanently damage priceless Iraqi treasures that had survived thousands of years of turmoil. The images released in February show militants drilling and hammering artifacts in the Mosul Museum, shocking people around the world.
Kane, what are the historians and the archaeologists saying about the destruction that's going on in Mosul?
Well, first off, they're appalled. I mean, these are folks, particularly the ones that I've talked to at the Oriental Institute at the University of Chicago. These are folks that have actually been in country. These are folks who have studied some of those artifacts that are in the video, that are in Mosul.
It's very, very hard to keep from going into a depression over this. I mean, this is an incredible loss of everything we work for.
He was also indicating there's been news that some of these are replicas or imitations. He said that indeed might be the case, but in the video, he believes he's seeing some genuine artifacts being permanently destroyed.
One is a statue of a winged bull with a human head, over 2,500 years old.
They actually took the face off one of the surviving bulls, which is actually in very, very good shape. And then they took apart two other bulls that were in very, very bad shape.
The winged bull was excavated in Iraq in the 1920s and 1930s by archaeologists of the Oriental Institute. A similar, larger statue discovered during that time is one of the largest pieces now on display at the Institute's museum.
So why are they doing it? Why is the Islamic State trying to just destroy everything that they can find, at least here in Mosul? And I'm sure they're trying to do this in some of the other cities, or probably planning to anyway.
I think that's a difficult question for anyone to answer. There could be several facets to this. One is that these artifacts, these images, these figures, many of these historic items predate the Islamic faith itself, and some of the faith may consider these things to be idolatrous, and there is some kind of impetus to destroy or deface them, prescribing to certain religious beliefs. However, there may be an internal and an external audience for this kind of destruction. The internal audience would be obviously the people living in areas controlled by the Islamic State, to show what they can do, to sort of flex muscle perhaps. The external audience could be the rest of the world, showing them that this is a means by which they can control their territory, they can control things where they have access to these kind of artifacts and historic sites.
So what would be the lasting effect, other than obviously the physical destruction of these artifacts?
We all come from somewhere, and there is this need in some of us to understand where we're from and what our shared human history is. And so Iraq itself is home to ancient Mesopotamia, which is the cradle of civilization. It is the place where civilization, at least in our recorded history, begins. It's the place where we can see how cities form. And so these items, these artifacts, these places in this part of the world are important to everyone around the world to help us understand that shared human history.
And what about Laura Tedesco over at the State Department Cultural Heritage Program? What did she say about what was going on?
It's a form of cultural genocide by completely cutting off a civilization from its heritage, from its cultural past. It's a way to eradicate a sense of identity.
It actually affects the ability for this country to sort of help itself by bringing people into the country to see these important historic places and items. This is true in Afghanistan. This is the site of the ancient Bamiyan Buddhist statues. They were built in the 6th century BC, and they survived all of this time. Well, in 2001, when the Taliban controlled this part of Afghanistan, they detonated and destroyed these large Buddhist statues. And so these are structures which, you know, they were renowned around the world. People came from all over the world to see these giant statues. They were destroyed. There's nothing to see there now in Afghanistan except for the empty hole of where these massive Buddhist statues once existed.
Some difficult video to watch, and it's still happening. Islamic State recently destroyed parts of 2 ancient Iraqi cities not far from Mosul using bulldozers. The United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization has called this deliberate destruction of cultural heritage a war crime.